Welcome to the MMHP and the 99. Podcasting from the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame in downtown Bay City. Channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history. From the city by the bay. And now, Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike, and your host, Scott Baker.
We're podcasting from the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame at the Historical Museum of Bay County, located at 321 Washington Avenue in downtown Bay City.
We're recording here at the Rock Roll Legends Hall of Fame here in Bay City, Michigan for another episode of the MMHP and the 989. And we used to have a full house at the old show, and here we are with the biggest show we've had here yet. We got a full table, all the mics are getting used up, all the channels are plugged in. And I want to introduce two very special guests. We haven't done a show like this yet so far. I'm really pleased with this show because it's going to showcase a completely different side as we're more about the history. But the people that are making the history that our kids are going to watch and the people are going to watch down the road are because of these two guys that are on the show tonight. And I'm going to say, Mr. Loren Kranz, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man.
And good Brother Sean over there, how you doing?
I am good, sir.
Good seeing you guys. This is so cool to get you guys. These guys are current musicians that have either been on touring, or have been in some kind of mix of so many Michigan music things, so much output over the years, at least since the 90s. For Sean, going back to the Banana Convention, right?
Yeah, I wasn't in the original 90s in version, but my first gig was 99. So I'm 38, so I started young. So. And
Loren, your first shows were, I think, at least I know when the first grouping of shows you were with me.
We played early on at BMO's.
Barbarossa Brothers.
At that time, just Barbarossa.
Barbarossa.
Indeed,
just then, okay.
First.
And that would have been in the aughts, or the middle aughts.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 05,
yeah.
06, I think.
Right when I went solo.
I graduated in 05, so 06, 07. Yeah.
Right when I went solo out of Muddy Gumbo. Okay.
There you go.
Well, since then, both these cats have toured the U.S. and played on multiple records, and they're still doing it to this day. And we got two completely separate sides of the story, because Loren's you've kind of moved over to the Grand Rapids side, and you're doing a lot all around.
I still live in the area.
Okay.
I live in Freeland, which is my hometown. I graduated from Freeland High School. But I do a lot in Grand Rapids. I just kind of put a lot of miles on the van, you know. I played with groups out of Grand Rapids, people up in northern Michigan, southeast Michigan, Ann Arbor area. You know, that's one of the great things about where we live here is we're sort of centrally located, right? You know,
Completely.
Northern Michigan is
2 hours,
2.5 hours. Detroit's 2 hours.
We just saying that for you guys sat down like
it's always
Absolutely.
easy to get home.
yes.
Bingo. If I lived in Detroit, northern Michigan is a couple
that'd be
days
tough,
of
yeah.
a hike, right?
That'd be tough.
Yeah.
So that's where you got involved with the Insiders?
The Insiders was a complete fluke, which I was happy to sub with them last at the State Theater last week. But
Oh, you're not a permanent member of the band?
that was the first time I'd ever played with them.
Wow,
But
you'd
I know
never know
those
it.
guys from Grand Rapids music scene and going back quite a ways. But that Max called me the day before, and he said, "Hey, we kind of need you to be on standby because our regular keyboard player, Mike Lynch, who is a good friend and one of my favorite
He's
musicians."
originally. Oh, Mike. He used to play with Larry McRae too.
Yeah, he's the best, and he plays with everybody.
Everybody.
He's like, yeah, Mike's not feeling great. Can you check out the set list, and I'd be happy to compensate you for your time and everything. And I'm going, yeah, I'll check this out. I got these guys. No way is Lynch gonna cancel this gig, right? And then I get the text at 10 a.m. the next morning, like, okay, buddy, you're in. So. So I showed up to sound check at 3 that day, and there we went, But those guys are super pro, and it was easy to just fit in there,
Well, yeah, you would never know that you were a last-minute replacement.
That's good to hear.
I mean, I've watched a lot of those, tribute acts, and I tell you right now, the Insiders, I thought that was the best band
They did a great
I have
job.
seen.
Yeah,
They did, and you as well.
Max has such a cool
did
way.
Tom Petty proud.
He channels the Tom Petty a bit, but also makes it clear, look, I'm not I'm not Tom, but I love Tom. I love his music, you know, and if you're here, you probably do too.
Yeah,
right?
it's
very
the right vibe.
100%.
You know, and
His talking
because-
between songs, he
right.
laid stories out, and it was tributing all night, and it was perfectly said.
Yeah, and just making a point of how important Tom Petty's music is in the overall landscape of American music. I mean, it's
doubt.
classic stuff. That
Yeah.
you know, the American Songbook Rock and Roll Edition.
Yeah.
You know, that's Tom Petty for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was awesome. Really a great show.
And my wife hit me in the arm, like, Loren's up there. I'm like, I didn't know he was in this band. I said, he's in every band. If I can't. She's like, cool. She's like, at home now. Like, we know those guys. All right, cool.
That was special.
I'm going to take it back to the earliest group of touring. Before Loren took off touring, Sean, you were out with Banana Convention. You guys put a record out, and you guys went around the country. The Banana Convention ended up being a pretty big deal out of the mid-Michigan area, bursting to many different regional scenes, I would say.
Yeah, it was cool.
Sean Drysdale, everybody.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention, I forgot, I
Yeah.
haven't mentioned your last name yet,
Yeah.
but look him up.
Yeah, it was cool. We changed a lot really quick. We had some member changes, and we kind of had artistic changes too. We wanted to write not just better songs, but like write songs that weren't happening in our area. I think as, you know, our songwriters all sitting at this table, right? You know, we all have a philosophy, or maybe like an ultimate goal. And my goal was always to be like, how do I do something no one else is doing, but do it in a way that doesn't seem forced or seem done with like kind of a negative purpose? So like, you should always challenge yourself. So we sat down and we just started writing songs like no one else was doing. No one was doing like dancey rock music. No one was really pushing female singers as the front of a band. And, you know, treating them not only as female singers, but treating them as a reason to come see the band, to write as an artist. Because writing as a guy for a guy, myself, let's make that the context of it. And then writing a song with a female who's going to sing it. And how would she look at it? What her emotions would be? And then presenting it to them and saying, how are you going to change this? What are your edits? How do you feel? It was a really cool thing, because I can write dude songs all day, you know? You know, that's easy.
That's because our ears are probably attuned to that from the radio.
Yeah. Or just ourselves.
Yeah,
you
souls,
know,
yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
And so like writing with that vibe, and then doing something different, not only to do it on purpose, which has kind of always been a phrase that stuck with me my whole life. You know, when people ask me why you do music, I say on purpose. It's just, you know, it's weird, throws people off. I love doing that because I'm weird. And so yeah, it parlayed into like 10 years of like living kind of like a fantasy life mixed with all that real world stuff, like having bills, finding places to live off and on, you know, because you change jobs and you're pushing everything into this band. And, you know, it's hard to keep a job when you're like, oh, by the way, I'm now gone for like a month and a half or 2 weeks, or I have to leave for a while because I'm moonlighting in a band and I got to go to Tennessee. Like, I got to do all these things. And it was really great. And I did it all before I even hit 30. So now I'm in my late 30s, and I feel like I lived like a completely different life. And now that I'm busted, and I'm not old, but I'm refined.
You're a veteran.
I'm a veteran, sure. I don't like that. But I lived a completely different life leading up to where I am now, and I experienced so much at a young age in a 10-year span. And it's so great now to look back and see all the dumb stuff I did and all the triumphs I had, and still realize like I have all these other years now where I'm not away from like my family or my partner, or I'm putting certain things on hold because I want to be in a band. I got to do it. I did music videos, and I did really cool like shows, and traveled the country, and got to sell records and like physically in, you know, a bunch of different states. And I did all that. So now like when people are like, do you miss it? I'm like, no, I got to do it. I remember it. I have that as part of my soul now. So it's super cool.
One really honorable thing and hard thing, and I didn't find out until I did that really initial Banana Convention story, when you guys first got back together out of this 90s unit of it, that I wasn't even aware of at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And then...
I mean, I was a wee baby.
Yeah, I mean, that I didn't...
Compared to, though,
they didn't do half of what happened to that band until you got into the band. But you guys managed so many different lineups, still kept the same momentum and got it to keep flourishing forward.
That was all songwriting, though, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The songs just got better. It got more real. We became hardened in our work ethic to write better songs, write songs no one else was writing. Pushing a female lead as a reason to go see this band, not like a bunch of wacky dudes and this girl who sings good. And that was part of the band.
Yeah, everything was part of that band. It was a soup. Yeah.
People look back on it and they always go, the Banana guys and the, Shar, and like, oh, they were just weird. And I'm like, we were all those things. But when you actually go back and you listen to the handful of albums that we did, and you listen to the musicality and like the talent and like Chris's drumming or Jake's guitar playing, and like Monty being a showman, and it came through on songs, and it didn't sound goofy. It wasn't Fred Schneider, even though people tried to say it was very Fred Schneider.
Fred Schneider's what
but
came
the fact
through
that he was
everybody
hitting
for-
backups, he was playing keyboard,
He had a lot to
he
do.
was playing percussion,
Yeah.
and he was doing some goofy stuff because we wanted to actually entertain people. If you came out to see us, you could walk away hating us, but you couldn't say you weren't entertained.
And I just remember seeing the tour videos and the regular videos.
All the videos. We recorded everything.
Heading to
And-
New York, and you're in this van.
getting arrested almost on the bridge for videotaping
so much
in
stuff.
2008.
in the crappiest winter weather and everything.
Always,
I mean,
always.
yeah.
It didn't stop us. We were dumb. It was great. Now, I don't know if Lauren's the same way, but now you check the weather a lot more.
I do indeed. Yeah, my wife's trying to turn me into a weatherman. I swear.
Yeah. It's like,
I
hey,
don't know,
baby, did you check the weather this morning? And in your mind, you know it's going to be a little dodgy, and you're like, it's fine. She's like, I checked the weather this morning. And you're like, oh,
I
boy.
can't even bluff anymore.
Because I've had that same experience,
Right.
like with my partner. She's like, baby, you really need me driving down to Detroit and that? I'm like, yeah, I made a commitment.
This
And I
is
like
what
to honor
Michigan
commitments.
music's all about, everybody. Right here, it's the
That's
weather.
right.
It comes down
Nasty
to the damn
weather.
weather.
Nasty
Just
weather.
dealing with it.
Yeah.
Man, one thing I really loved about the Bananas was I feel like you guys were, to my mind anyway, early on, really used like the internet and message boards and obviously video technology.
Yeah.
I feel like a number of people on the team were really savvy about that kind of thing.
Monty,
When
his
you definitely
brother.
were not. Yeah.
I was the forum guy. So what I did was, I used to be really big into forums because I grew up a wrestling fan, and in the late 90s, there was wrestling forums. And so, like, these people were, like, fans like you would not believe of pro wrestling. And so I was like, I guarantee there's music forums just like this. And I found all of them and hustled. Found a way to get MP3s on there when you couldn't even put MP3s, like, in text. Like, I was figuring out how to code.
Because this is pre-MySpace.
Yeah, this is
and everything.
pre-MySpace.
There's really no
like-
social media.
And so I started
Good point.
learning like computer coding to like sneak songs into like forums because you couldn't put music in a post, but I found a way to do it. QuickTime Player, I love you so much. And we hustled, and we saw bands didn't have flyers. We made flyers. We didn't use Google image search and put some ugly text on it and everything's all pixelated. We made flyers. We put flyers everywhere. We made videos from the road, posting them at libraries to get them up online in the early days, because this was like the birth of high-speed internet.
Well, we had a show with Ronnie Round, and
I love Ronnie.
Ronnie's
Love
classic,
Ronnie.
our local punk guy, out of Essexville.
And he's legit.
He's
Dude's
totally-
legit.
Yeah, his whole thing was, if I wouldn't been on those bulletin boards when the internet first started, and this was a big part of our show with him, talking about these internet. He goes, there was one time where it was me, the dude from, it was a heavy band, the Deftones, and Nico Case. We were running this thing. It was the three of us. And those two bands took off. He says, I'm big in Japan. But, he was living this bulletin board life of, we're going to do everything on the internet, get it as worldwide as we can. And it was a bulletin board thing. Like, how do we integrate the music into this web?
Yeah, it's called hustle.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Street teaming, getting your friends. We were so fortunate. Lauren helped us out tons of times. Show trades.
I was a fan, man.
I was 21 when I first met you, and I
Yeah.
just remember you just being so tall. and I'm like, I'm 5'8" on a good day. I mean, a good day, good pair of shoes, 5'8". But like, I always call him Scarecrow. He knows, and I think that's kind of like an intangible value. Is I think if we can give pearls of wisdom,
Yes.
that when everyone in a local scene, because remember, your local scene is local. So like just be careful. Be careful with how you engage with others, because pretensions and attitudes can spiral out of control when you're not in the room because of a small thing that you said that was rude, glib. You may not have meant it at the time, but like, we show traded. I mean, we did not care who went on first, who went on last. I still hear bands like, hey, we're gonna main event. I'm like, where? A local bar? That's not a main event. Like, it's cool. You want to go on last? It's your show? Absolutely. But like, little things like that.
Yeah, get some perspective on
Yeah,
it, right?
like,
and try to embrace the idea of anybody's success is everyone's success
Absolutely.
in a small, local music community.
Absolutely. And
Well
like
put.
the way you interact with each other. Like Loren, I've kind of slowed down in my playing. Loren has been steady and growing and growing and growing every year. And like
Appreciate that, man.
I have zero like, God, like I don't have that like negative attitude. And I'm a sad person. I grew up a sad person. Like I've never have a fear of saying it, because I think people tend to worry about being honest about how they naturally feel. And to me, to like deny that is scarier than acknowledging it. So like when I say something like a compliment, it comes from like the deepest part of like me, like the realest part where I'm like, this is a real place. I don't give compliments expecting them back. You should never do that as a musician. That's a fool's errand. But like seeing a guy like Loren grow every single year, not only get better, but just he's the same guy from the day I met him. That's rare.
Mm-hmm.
People get hardened. They're like me, they're sad, But Loren just is a very transparent individual with how he interacts with people, and I think that's like a huge foundation for his success. Every time he's invited, not just to fill in, but no, I mean, these are conversations I don't think people have in general with each other.
No.
Not even in music.
No.
They don't open up that way. They don't.
This is a great medium to discuss that, because there's a lot of handshaking and stuff going on, but to generally say thank you is a whole other thing, and to be able to point out, hey, did you see this growth, and I've been here for it, you've been here for it, and it's one of those things where, and leading where Banana Convention left off, you were working your wings slowly out of the area. You jammed with Sprout.
Slowly, but
Well, he started jamming with everybody around here.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's with everybody outside, incling who you're with now, the Ragbirds, which is an essential
Ragbirds,
member of the Ragbirds.
Which,
Amazing.
I was in the band Barbarossa that we talked about,
Yeah.
right? And then that, ended after a couple of years, moved down to Ypsilanti, actually, joined a band down there. Through that connection, found an audition with the Ragbirds, which at that time they were having a lot of success. They'd been in Japan the summer before, and they were having a moment for sure, and ended up touring with them. Played 46 states, all over the contiguous, excepting Utah and Maine. Somehow we missed those two, right? And
Still to come.
but did they miss you?
I can't speak to that, but I played with them for about 3 years, and then the time came. It seemed like it was a good moment to dip, right? And ended up coming back home. Found my way into another band, which we named Barbarossa Brothers, with Drew Penkowski and Ryan Fitzgerald were part of the initial group of that. Yeah,
He's not gone, but he just doesn't play anymore.
Yeah,
and
we
just,
never see him.
Man, and I hear he's a wicked carpenter, and that's what I do now. And I'm like, I bet you he's just killing it. And if I were to like show up in his shop, he'd be like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "All right, that's not how you use a fulcrum." I'm like, "Hey, I'm using it my own way, okay?"
But man, yeah, that I guess the sprout of the genesis of that, what I was talking about, is like from going from this opening act that we all just sat there with our jaws dropped. Next thing I know, you're 3 months later, you're like, "Want to jam at White's while I'm there?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." Come. He's playing our whole set with us. Then he's playing this whole set with this other band.
Yep.
I mean, it was like that super flight up, like he's gone. And the Ragbirds, as they went through the paces of the last 5 years into COVID or whatever, the issues, you found your way back as a very solid, permanent member.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing about my time with that band is I left the group 2014, I guess. The guy that replaced me, John Brown, was with the band for 5 years. When he left, I got a call. Hey, what do you think about coming back? And at that point, I was in a completely different place in my life. As a person, I think I had just gotten married, and some things had changed with the bands that I was working with. at that time, and it just totally made sense for me to just jump right back in, you know?
Amazing.
Which was kind of a tough decision for me, because now, looking back, it seems to make total sense, and yeah, obviously, why wouldn't I? But at the time, also, you know, it's not for nothing to say that this band was based out of Ann Arbor, while I'm living in Freeland, hour and a half away, 100 miles away, you know, so like that was a tough call, but ultimately I'm so glad that I did.
I think the musicality of the Ragbirds itself stands on its own, and when you're in that kind of upper echelon of musicianship, you know, that magnet's going to be there if you're called upon. And you know, no seeing the stuff you've gotten to do around it and work your way around it all.
I've been introduced to a lot of musicians through that band,
dude.
You know, for
from
sure.
Keyboards to drumming, there's not a whole lot you don't do. You sing. I mean, and now recently you've put out some solo music too.
Yeah. Been doing the solo thing, such as it is, for the last year or so, which is weird for me, because I've always been a band guy, you know. But it's good. It's a stretching exercise to put myself in that seat, and yeah, that's been pretty positive. And it's just the juggling, the balance of fitting that in with all the other freelance stuff.
How did that come about a little bit? I mean, the band, or was it like these guys I've wanted to play with, and I got this time scheduled away? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I just had just an inkling that I wanted to record some stuff for myself, mostly just to get my own name out there, and just kind of see about maybe leveling up a little bit, you know. And well, if you've got a calling card like a YouTube video that you can send to somebody, and mostly I wanted to have the ability to book some shows for this summer with my own name, and the way that I know how to do that is have good videos and have a social media presence, you know. So
Had you been writing for a while?
Yeah, I've written songs, you know, going back to high school era, you know. But I'm a very slow writer. I write like a song a year, it seems like.
So is there a record in the can for down the road?
Yeah, not in the can, but you know, in the works.
In the works,
yeah. It's moving slow, just because I've got so many things in the works. You know, living that freelance life right now.
Well, that's cool. And how many bands do you think you're touching upon right now?
Yeah, good question. I was thinking about this today, and this summer I will have played with over 20 unique projects, as far as like different groups, different repertoire, maybe some crossover of musicians, you know, but yeah, it's just the spice of life, you know.
It's beautiful. You can. It's amazing to watch a person that can go into a building and just know the notes, because you're so comfortable with music. It's not like you don't seem to have to work at it, which is a beautiful thing. I remember being on stage with you when we shared a night with the Sprout doing the band, you know, doing the
yes. We should talk about that night.
I'll tell you what, that was one of the first times where I started seeing a lot of different changes for everybody. Yeah. But they invited all the right guys in the room for that night, and I was next to you.
Waltz.
Yeah, the last waltz, and sitting there, I got to do the Levon mandolin parts, but I'm next to you, listening, like going, dude, what's going on, man? And you're just tinkling, like you're talking and playing, and I'm like, wow,
that was,
you know, and you were all. It just, I'm like, where is
really
this going?
Night.
And that, I think everybody left like with their heads like floating, like the band
totally felt
that feel of the house band, you know, like
just one of those magical nights that you have. Yeah. It's the rarest
to this day,
you know. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Was that the Pit and Balcony?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, I feel like I was there, but I couldn't remember because there was a couple other shows similar that kind of happened before. Yeah,
well, Pit and Balcony was hosting a bunch of live music events.
Yeah, there was like a before and after, some really cool shows. I was there, and a guy who I noticed from the crowd, a guy that I've known for a long time, you've known for a long time, was Ray Torres.
Sure. Yeah.
Ray just had a moment where, like, as being a friend, like, because I had known him for a while leading up to that point, like, getting to see him kind of unknowingly, you know, the popular term right now is get his flowers. But watching a whole crowd die out, like, because it was a pretty rowdy crowd. We were all, like, pre-gamed and had a good time and got there ready to have a good time more, you know.
It always was.
But you know, Guitar Gently Weeps and Aaron does his thing, and everybody had a shine spot, and then it got to Ray. And it was very kind of similar, if I could equate it to anyone.
That would have been the Beatles' White Show. White
yeah,
Album show.
that's the one I was thinking. It was
Yeah.
the Beatles White Show. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that was a different. That was that was
Yeah.
a year later.
Yeah,
After this one.
see, I was like, I knew I was at one of them. Man.
Yep.
But
That
yeah,
was a great run of shows.
yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah.
really was. It really was. But getting to see a show similar to that one,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Exactly, yeah.
because you played at that too, didn't
Mhm.
you? Yeah. Okay, good.
I was
See,
dressed in a bee costume.
That's right.
actually.
That's right. That's right.
Pictures exist
You know,
online
that's
of me
awesome.
wearing
You know, old party
full
days may have fried
stripes.
the brain a little bit memory-wise, but
That's awesome.
you know, again, like things that I think get lost, and I know I'm hijacking the conversation
No worries.
to a degree, but I think that like if we can teach people that, you know, there's only two currencies I think that musicians have as they get a little bit older is your emotional currency and your time. And so it only works one way with both. You never really get them back once you've given them out. You know, it's a one-way exchange. But if you can hold on to the memories of those moments, like seeing a Loren or seeing like a Ray Torres, you know, have moments where you actually see a crowd shut down, which I've seen both these guys do, which is always, oh, man.
Yeah.
You know, seeing a crowd get quiet, all of
Yeah.
a sudden pay attention. Their
Listening.
conversations slowly die.
Yeah.
You know, maybe wasn't paying attention, looking around, or at the time cell phones weren't as integrated into our society yet. But like those are really cool moments. So like if you can hold on to those or remember them, or if you run into those people, just remind them like, hey man, I saw you do something really, really cool. Just wanted to let you know I felt that. That was cool. Because like it's easy to say, oh, you're a great player. Or
And
like,
walk away.
or like, dude, you rock. I'm like, yeah, cool. But like when people remember moments, and you're like, I actually exchanged something with you. Our lives touched. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Like-
That's the deep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
I reflect more on those moments when I run into them, because I don't get to see Loren often.
I know it.
Right.
And so when I do, I always have some memory. I'm like, hey, instead of just being like, man, you're so good at what you do. Like you hear that and you love it and you are so appreciative. But I think it's cooler when I get to run into somebody I haven't seen in a while. And I'm like, I had this moment with you. I just wanted to let you know, man, it sticks with me. And I try and share that now when I run into people. Change the conversation a little bit, you know. Or, you know, if I can share a story that I think will help someone. I've kind of evolved, even though I said I'm a sad person, because in some ways I do. I carry a cloud with me all the time, but I think that's part of my charm. But I've learned that maybe getting past some of those issues is like sharing something like really deep and personal that may like, you know, that like breaks into somebody's emotion a little bit. I like that now. That feels
Yeah.
good.
Makes
to
you
me.
stop in your tracks, man.
Yeah.
And-
Reconnect.
Did the Pit and Balcony stop doing shows? It sounded like they were pretty successful. Why did they stop?
That I don't know.
I think all things run a course.
Yeah,
Well,
it really ran its course. That's
oh,
pretty much what
okay.
happened.
Honestly,
yeah.
I believe also Sprout was at their change time. It was a change period for them, coming to the end of it. I mean, I work with the bass player Matt to this day, and there was just a lot going on to put those together. And whatever Pitt had involved and how they had it going, it seems to me that, you know, they were everybody. It was just kind of a change of time, you know. And I think if they would still want to do that, they probably would let them, you know.
I know John Krogman had his CD release party.
Yeah, and
remember
Stuart
that.
Frankie was there, I believe. If I
Right.
recall.
Well, he produced it.
John was also in our band, The Weight Thing, you know, with the Sprout guys too. John was part of that.
Yeah, you can't try and put on I mean, I guess this was a Neil Young tribute as part of the Last Waltz, but you can't be pulling Neil Young out of there without inviting John
True.
Krogman, you know. So, and he killed it.
Yeah, he did.
That's
That
a
was
name
one
I
of those
haven't heard in a
magical nights.
while.
I got to work with Shar, your Banana
Yeah,
Convention partner,
yeah.
the singer.
Incredible.
Shar and I worked together for about a little over a year before she moved to Colorado, and like we were both trying to track down a copy of that show, and we found one. She's like, "There's a link there," and I'm like, "Oh, I'll find that link." And we both go. We're still talking about that show. Here we are working together, you know, and I'm like, oh, that was just when she did the
Yeah,
Joni
I think
Mitchell
that's
thing.
real cool. Yeah,
It stops me in my tracks. You know, it's like, what a night. And I wanted to piggyback your current solo thing. Sean, you've been into two different bands, and you're in CDF, who we've already interviewed, Mick Furlo and John Cashman.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hold you for your own show because you have a lot more to talk about with the convention, too.
Sure.
So I'm thankful you're here. But the CDF is quite active. I mean, dude, you're out putting out music again. You're singing leads. You're playing.
Yeah,
you're
I got-
writing. Yeah, tell us.
I've always written. I still, to this day, I don't care about singing.
No? You do a great job, man.
Thank you.
It gives those records.
Yeah.
such a listen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. For me, singing is fine. I'll hit the note. I have a health thing that's like gastritis and esophagitis. Some nights, dude, there's just no singing. And it's a bummer a little bit, and it'll only get worse as I get older, so that singing ability will degrade over time. But it's cool to do. It has never been my focus to lead on songs vocally. I've always liked writing songs for other people vocally. I got to do it with Shar. I've written songs, a couple that like Jeff Yance does. Wicked Me, I think, is the one he still does. And that's a song I'm really proud of. I'm glad he took it. I'm glad he recorded it, did it a little different than mine. I love writing more than anything else concerned with music. I love playing, but not like I love writing.
Are you writing for the new CD?
Yeah. I mean, we all write. Every single one of us writes. That's why when we couldn't think of a name, I'm like, man, let's just use the initials, the last names. Well, we'll put them, how they would come in the alphabet. No one's going to say it right. They're always going to say CFD or
CBD oil.
Or COD.
CBD oil is what I hear all the time. CBD? The oil ban?
Yeah.
No, CDF.
And I knew that was going to happen. So I love that. I love seeing when somebody puts their name up that's wrong. I always take a picture of it and send it to the guys because I tend to get places early. I'm a hurry up and wait guy. But I love writing. Writing to me is like, it's intimate. It's very, very real. And when it's ready, when it's gestated, that's the coolest part. And then everybody gets to put their fingerprints on it and like change it a little bit. And at first, like you want to be combative, but then you're like, ooh, that was a good idea. Ooh, that's a way better chord than I picked because I just picked what you would pick in a sequence of chords,
Yeah.
That feels comfortable to you. Your narrative always is comfortable, right? Somebody else's is hard. So...
Yeah, when you guys played, last time you played at Scotty's, you played a song just before the break. And I think John sang it, and he said, I think, if I remember correctly, it's the first time you had played it live. And I thought, man, that sounds
the one I
like
played
a
guitar
hit
on.
single.
Yeah, the one we've been changing it up a little bit.
Wow, I mean,
we brought in a guy.
What song is that? I didn't know.
It's called The Artist.
Okay.
What's weird is the album we're working on right now has a lot of parallels throughout all of our lives. I think that's why I'm so softening and touchy and feely and wanting to share more emotion with people. But we've been writing a lot of songs, and it's like moments in our lives. We're capturing feelings, and this is cool because like the first one we put out, nothing was really autobiographical. Like for me, I make up stories and then they become songs.
Yeah.
So this time we're hitting on like real notes. I wrote a song about, I lived off and on in Old Town Saginaw over the last 20 years. Mick, who is a local icon who has owned bars and is very well aware of the historical nature of Old Town, has a completely different view on it, right?
He's lived there for 50.
So we both unknowingly wrote a song about Old Town. And what's crazy is on the Venn diagram, they're completely different. But when they touch, it's the same narrative. But we didn't coach each other. We didn't rehearse it. We didn't sit down and say, this is what we're getting into. And the negatives are parallel, but the positives are kind of parallel. Kind of like a longing of our era of it, per se. Mine's a little more bitter than his. His is a little more remembrant. If that's even a word. But we both got to the same finish line. So I thought that was kind of a cool moment in songwriting, that we both had these feelings about the same scene, because it's a scene. It's on a map too, but it's a scene, and it's everybody's got a generation there. Mm-hmm. But we're writing right now, and the songs are really cool. We brought in a guy, a friend of the band. His name is Steven Hughey. Comes from a very long music family. We've all met a version of the Hueys. There's the bluegrass, the son and father duo Hughey that we all know, Tyler and his pop.
Yeah.
Steven is a little bit more akin to me. We're the new wave Outcast kids that like dark goth music, which you wouldn't see me and go, he likes goth music? Love it. But he's come in, and now he's kind of like a Ron Wood for us. He's either playing guitar on songs or playing bass, and I'm playing guitar. And we're kind of mixing it up and challenging each other. me doing the challenging. I think sometimes I get a little excited. I get excited and I want it to be so good. And so I push a little bit, but I only push for positive results. And sometimes it works out and sometimes we don't. But yeah, we're writing and it's a really fun experience right now.
Is it going to be all originals then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would love to not have to do any shows where we play covers. We have so many originals that don't even make it into the set because, the 3-hour set nights are fun to a degree. But for me, I'm like, I'd rather play 45 minutes of the best songs that we can rock that night. And we have so many that we could do a different set every night of originals. And
That's awesome.
And just do that. I don't play for money. I haven't in years. People think I'm crazy that, you didn't make any money from your shows. I didn't ask for any money. So I didn't expect it. Again, setting realistic expectations. Yeah. So
your covers are fun though.
They're fun,
I mean,
but I hate
Mick sounds like Sting, on the Police songs.
And again, in that narrative, we're expected to play songs people know the words to.
Well, I think too, and then throwing this at you, being Mick's Mick. I mean, you if you've been around this area and you know his name, you're going to go back to the 80s to all the bands he was in, the 90s or whatever. If you come for the Banana Convention stuff or the Cashman punk stuff.
Oh, man, the Cashman punk stuff.
I mean, you guys got drawing from different, you guys got the 80s, the 90s, and the aughts all covered in just 3 members.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's different eras of fans coming along to these shows going, wow. So it's this big flower, this big lilac bush.
Yeah, it's super cool. But yeah, it's for me the dichotomy of keeping up the cover band act that peppers in originals seems to be a disadvantage when you want to sell an album at a show. I mean, people would much rather spend $30 on shots because shots are like what, $10? None of us drink, so that's wasted money right there. But it's happened, and it's like no. You'll save money if you buy our CD. Nah, they're not interested. But they love the idea of us doing ROCK in the USA way more than Mick singing a song from his soul that he wrote. So, I kind of have this weird push and pull with it. I love the songs that we do pick because it's eclectic and it's a little self-serving. John singing the Church's Milky Way. Mick and I both picked a Bowie tune in Young Americans. Was a hit, but not like his other hits. And also the challenge of doing Young Americans 3-part harmonies while playing bass, playing guitar, playing drums. That's an achievement. That is not an easy song to harmonize while playing that kind of tune. So
when I did that gig with you guys in 2021, I was turned on to a bunch of new music just from your set list. What's the Elvis Costello song that you guys do?
Oh,
with the piano part? There was a bunch of stuff that I wasn't hip to. And I'm like, because I got to do one of the final Save Your Machines gigs, right, before we transitioned to CDF.
Yeah, Save Your Machines.
And that was awesome. I was honored to be part of that, And I love your originals.
And so I'll always fight originals before covers. I understand the duality of it. And people who don't know you needing to know songs they know to get into it, you got to give, to the crowd. You can't be mad at them for not knowing your stuff.
Yeah, don't you think, too, that, when you're playing at a bar, that's a different animal entirely.
Yeah,
that's where maybe the covers are more important because you have people talking.
But I would actually throw it back then, not to take back what I just said. You got to please the patrons. If you're going to a bar and you did not pay to get in, and you know that it's a music bar that does music 7 nights a week, and you think it's up to you to tell the band what they're doing, I think that your priorities are a little screwed up as a patron. Because I will entertain you, and I will play proficient, and I will make sure that it's unoffensive and that you have a good time. But when you kind of tug on the pant leg and you're asking like a male singer to do Janis Joplin, because that's happened so many times in groups that I've like moonlit in and stuff like that, I'm like, come on. So like there's a little give and take, and I like the battle. I mean, I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is it's nice to just kind of like sneak them in here and there, right? And all of a sudden, people who are coming back to see your band maybe a couple times all of a sudden they're singing the words to
Yeah,
your
they
song.
remember the song.
Right?
Yeah.
And like,
Well, you gotta work
how
it
good
in.
a feeling is
Yeah,
that?
dude, that's, I've made my 20 plus years based on all that.
Really
Just trying to
special.
keep up.
Or
with
when
it.
they are singing along to your song, but they've never heard it, and so you're watching their mouth do something
Yeah.
different, but you know they're into it. That's the coolest.
That's pretty good.
I
Yeah.
love that one because like I'm thinking random words in my head while playing. Like, did they just say soda water rhubarb? Because I can make that lyric.
Soda water rhubarb.
I like that.
You know, another cool thing, it's actually, I guess not a cool thing, but next to them mouthing out lyrics is seeing that person that's been on their freaking phone all night, but they're jamming to everything you're doing.
Yeah,
And when you do your own tune, they stop for a second and then they're
Yeah, the
jamming.
phone
right
thing
back
does
in.
not bother me
Yeah.
the way it bothers musicians that I know. They're very upset that people are on their
Well,
phones.
when you see a certain I mean, there's not all, I mean, at Scotty's, you're blinded half the time, so I can see a couple people, but in different venues, you're like, I can see how far, and there's a lot of people reconnecting. I don't mind that at all. I love the reconnecting. That's what we're there for.
Yeah.
The connection's back.
Sure. Yeah.
So talk away, and you know why if you're coming to see me or if you're there, you happen to see me, you're gonna get a little bit of everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know these CDs, they might not be sold tonight, but they're gonna keep coming back.
Yeah.
There's gonna be another one new.
Well,
next
that's
year,
kind
you
of
know?
why I made the comment. Like, if you didn't
Yeah.
pay to get in, it's a
Yeah.
free show. Just have a good time.
Yeah.
If you paid to get in, I will absolutely do what is expected of me to entertain it. If it's play a cover or play songs they know, like of mine, which is rare, you know. But I will 100% do it. But I think it's a little bit of a free for all if you're going to a free show. Let's have some fun, man. We'll,
Yeah,
we'll
it's
get a little
equal.
combative. Yeah.
Now, when you're on the road with the Ragbirds, is there covers mixed in any time or
Yeah.
all the
Yeah,
time?
absolutely. But it's a lot of original stuff.
As I say, isn't you've tripped the wire where you can go heavy originals? But just a
Yeah,
couple
that's
covers, right?
that's a thing that we're really lucky to be able to do is show up to a festival or to a listening room type place, and the history of the band at this point goes back 18 years, right? And
Yeah.
there's fans that go back that far, you know?
And it's a heck of a catalog.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of great songs.
Well, everybody loves Aaron
Yeah, everybody
in
does
Ann
love
Arbor.
Aaron.
I
How
lived
could you
there
not,
for
right?
20, right.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, especially we just did Top of the Park in Ann
Right.
Arbor last month, and it's like this is an amazing crowd, and people know Book of Matches, and they're singing along to it. And I didn't write that song; I have nothing to do with the creation of that.
That's
beyond
one of the
just
first
playing my
ones I
drum
ever
part.
heard.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding.
Man,
That
it
is-
just
yeah.
clicks with you, right?
Oh, dude, it's like
But that's
instant
so cool.
feels when it. Yeah, that is such good stuff.
No doubt.
I mean, I didn't want to point it out as like an obvious because I know it's an obvious thing for me. But I wanted you to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's like I want the
that actually reminded me of a banana convention show that I went to a long time ago.
Yeah.
Right? And you guys had played a set, maybe 7-8 songs into the set, and Monty stops the show and he goes, "Hey, I just want everybody to know that all the songs we just played were all original songs." And the whole crowd broke into applause, and it was a huge. That was awesome.
It was
you know, and like the
yeah.
musicians and the songwriters in the house, like our hearts lifted, you know,
Yeah.
because how cool is that?
We were sneaky that we didn't give the crowd even a chance to clap.
yeah, right,
We
yeah, and it's boom, boom,
steamrolled.
boom.
We
Exactly,
steamrolled. There was not 2 seconds in between songs. I worked on the set list with Monty and Chris. We'd figured out what's the key of each song, what would sound good if we just smacked into it. Like if a drum's got to go, or if a guitar's got to start early, or the bass is just going to pedal something till the next one starts. And we would wait until we were like towards the end of our set, and we'd be like, "Hey, everybody, we're at the Nick convention. How you doing tonight?"
I love the art of a good set list.
Yeah.
That's
We didn't give them a chance to hate us. We hope they loved us, but we did what we were gonna do, and then we would give the crowd like just a minute to be like, "Okay, hi," and then if we've had shows where they booed us. I mean, like people would be like, "Play something we know," and then Shar would start chirping at them, and then a lot of times I didn't have a mic, and at that time that was good because I would really chirp at people. If you don't know the hockey term, chirping means run in your mouth.
But a lot of the
Yeah.
time, it is just don't give them a chance to think about it. Don't give them a chance to
Let them
heckle
talk
or
to
whatever,
you.
know?
Let them talk to you after the set because
Sure, yeah.
no matter how much they dislike you, they end up talking to you. You end up talking to them. You have a chance to sway the jury that way. And if they love you, they'll come talk to you. And if they're indifferent, they'll leave you alone. And fine, I didn't ask you to come to me, and I won't bother you. We're all cool. So
I think about this a lot, how lucky I feel to be able to play primarily original music and support a number of great songwriters, because a lot of my favorite songs are written by Michigan artists. People from back in the day, and then also from this new generation that's come out. Joshua Davis, who was on The Voice, but before that, he had a band called Steppin' in It. That's like my favorite Michigan band of all time. My wife and I have a favorite artist, May Earlywine from Northern Michigan area. Rachel Davis. She and her husband Dominic live in Nashville now, and they're doing super well, But this state, it just has such a rich well to draw from of talent and great songs and great musicians.
Yeah, when May played the State Theater, we brought her over here.
Did you?
We weren't open yet. We were putting the finishing touches on. I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Earlywine, her father.
I am familiar with Michael Earlywine.
Yeah, I mean, he started allmusic.com, which is incredible. And they were the kind of the prime, well, they were the prime movers was the name of their band, but they were a very well-respected blues band in Ann Arbor in the 60s and early 70s.
And he played with Iggy Pop.
Yeah,
right?
Iggy was their drummer.
So there you go.
Yeah, interesting
cool.
guy.
Nice credit.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing we didn't touch upon with you guys is, Sean, take us back to where you got your inspiration to become a musician.
Oh, man. I would say I was at my we didn't have cable growing up, like at my parents' house, but my grandparents did. And so we would go over there and watch movies and watch television because they had all the channels. And I got to watch 120 minutes. And in that episode, 2 bands played. And to this day, one band, anyone who knows me knows I'm a freak about them, but I love The Cure.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen them a bunch of times. So there was 120 minutes with Robert Smith, and then afterwards they did it was like a back-to-back type thing, and Rollins' band played. Rollins' band had this killer, I learned years later, they had this bass player, this big tall dude, tons of effects, not Jocko at all, actually entertaining to watch, not mechanical. Like Jocko, I know. Ooh, said something bad about Jocko. Knows more bass playing than Jocko.
Bass police are coming.
Hey, did you know that Jocko wasn't even the first fretless player in his band? His name was Alfonso Johnson.
Alfonso.
Yeah. Alfonso was rocking
Love
that first, and
Alfonso.
Bill Wyman was the first recorded fretless. Just growing up on music forums.
There you go.
But no, the bass player in Rollins' band, his name is Melvin Gibbs. He's actually a Michigan boy. He has a band. He has a band called the Harriet Tubman Band. They play the Detroit Jazz Festival almost every year. The last couple they missed, COVID and all that kind of changed things. And he is by and far like just not only a wicked bass player, but like legit human activist. But the bass player in The Cure, Simon Gallup, melodic, lead tones,
Vocal bass playing.
playing, but really musical. Not,
Both the guys you mentioned, I took a love to early on. It's weird that
And Melvin Gibbs, again, really different, really expressive, not quite lead. I would say melodic, side melody, or maybe like if a song has an A and a B section going at the same time, he's like the B section to the A section. But those guys, like seeing them, I was like, whoa. And like I just always heard the bass, got really interested in the bass. And those 2 bands I was like, well, when I get older, I'll beg my parents and get an instrument.
When did that happen?
Probably by the time I was 13 or 14.
10 years ago.
Yeah, right. I wish. But it just kind of lit a fire in me. I was a shy kid, a lot of issues in the home with mental health with a family member, and wanting escape, but not escape to be a star, but escape to literally escape into another world. I'm talking about going through the wardrobe. I just wanted to go into another world. I didn't want to be anything special. I didn't want to be known. I didn't want to.
Was it a creative art thing?
Yeah, it was, but it was to give me something to do because I was a lost kid. I didn't have friends. I wasn't into anything that all the other kids were into. I was just a loner. And music and wanting to learn music gave me a purpose and something to do that I could do by myself. I didn't need someone. And so I did that. And then, of course, you get the bug. And then, you set your goals. I want to play with someone. I want to start a band. I want to play 1 show. I want to play 2 shows. I want to play a slightly bigger stage. I want to maybe play in a different city. You know how those go.
I write a song.
Yeah, how they all kind of snowball from there. But I would say the Cure and Rollins band, and when people meet me, that just blows their mind. Like, you don't look like a guy that likes that kind of music. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to look like. I'm just a meat suit that's powered by water and electricity.
Meat suit.
Yeah. Like, I'm just, I'm existing
something.
in this time period. I didn't know I had to look a certain way to like a certain thing.
It's just people like to put tags on things, but it is what you've created
I'm still,
your own destiny.
Yeah,
so.
and I'm still not wired that way, so I still can't figure out when people make comments like that. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know you had to be a certain this or a certain that. And I love Tejano music, like big time. I would love to see more Tejano bands locally. I know Yvonne is stellar. JoJo on drums is a killer musician. Have you ever met JoJo?
I don't believe I have.
Dude, JoJo is a beast on drums. He's also drums in Tension Head. He's in a Tejano band. He's in a metal band. Awesome. But I love Tejano music. I love R&B. I love hip hop and rap. I would love to see more of that around. All those are huge influences on my acoustic songs.
Did you see Fred? Fred's our most original musician in the band. Plays
the washtub.
World class, not washtub. It's the
washboard. I'm sorry, I spoke
Fred,
improperly.
do you know Vince Russo out of Ann Arbor?
Is he the guy in?
He plays washboard as well. So I didn't know.
Yeah, I know.
Him at all.
Is he the guy in Appleseed Convention?
Appleseed Collective. Yep.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed.
He called me one time to substitute for him.
Really? Oh
And
my goodness!
the
that would
money
be
was
interesting.
really, really good, and I thought, wow, times have changed. And but then it got canceled.
Oh no! I see Vince.
And then
quite
I went to
often, so I
see
just
them
wondered,
at
yeah.
when they did those front porch things
Okay.
for a few years.
Yeah.
So I
we had
went to
them,
see
yeah.
them, and they looked exactly like a band that I was in 1970. And the washboard player, I had long hair
Yeah,
and
man.
a long beard.
Absolutely.
This guy's got long hair
He's
and a
channeling
long
something,
beard.
no doubt.
Every musician in there looked exactly like what we were doing.
So you were in the right
Absolutely.
place.
Things come
Years
around, right? I love that.
Have you heard of the Reverend Peyton and the Big Damn Family Band? Him and his wife, she plays too.
Yeah.
Yeah, she throws down, man.
You're not into
I've seen him a couple times.
Look at Fred. He's he's very
That's-
particular. Freddie's
that's
very
okay.
particular. Yeah.
Is it because she sets it on fire?
I don't know if she's the one that she wears gloves with thimbles on.
Sometimes, yeah, but it's
And
part of
that's
her
the
out.
most-
It's
to
part
me,
of her
that's-
outfit, though, because
Oh, okay.
she
It's
has
like when
a,
you do the nights when you put a dress on. It's different.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. When did that happen?
I'm messing with you, Fred. I gotta have the comedy Fred hour
Got
on
to.
every any of our shows.
I like the fact that you're like, this is how I believe in playing it. Dude, stick to it. I'm not gonna sit here
Sure.
telling you how to live your life, man. That's all good.
Right. Well, I come up with the jug band.
yeah.
And when we used to play in Louisiana a lot, everybody uses spoons or knives,
Yeah.
but I just play with thimbles.
We did a recent episode, and Fred got to pull it out, and we've been teasing him since day one, but he is world class on that thing. There's no shitting about it.
Yeah.
And he got to play just in a recent podcast we did, and we were all like, we've heard him live. Now that we've been together for this long, we've seen each other live, but Fred does things on that I've never experienced.
Yeah. Anytime you
Sound
see
like
someone
none
play an
other,
instrument
yeah.
that's so foreign to you and they do it with such excellence, it'll always blow you away. There was a local guy, what was it? Bernie's brother, Clay, used to play the Bones.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And he
yeah.
legit, I didn't know what the Bones were. I was still kind of a young buck in my 20s, and he's coming out with the Bones, and I'm like, what is he?
There was a famous guy in Ann Arbor who did
Just
that.
blew me away, because I was in a gypsy band with Jim Pagel at the time.
Yeah.
And doing gypsy jazz, Django Reinhardt style music, and I was playing the little bass before anyone knew what they were. That was a fun time. But this guy Clay would come out with the Bones, and I'm like, don't invite him up, man. I just want to play the set. I don't want it to be bad. I just want it to be good. Oh, I was humbled.
Yeah.
So quick.
Oh, Clay.
Yeah, Clay.
Okay, of course.
And
he's
really good.
Yeah, he is.
And
Clay has really interesting
Rhythm.
ideas about percussion.
Yeah.
And he's got all kinds of cool. I mean that in the best way
His
possible.
brother Bernie
Yeah.
Bear was a bass player.
He's got all sorts
Yeah.
of interesting instruments at his house and stuff that he's made, and that's an aspect of percussion that
Yeah.
I have the utmost respect for, because that's just so cool.
Next
and that's,
level.
I mean, that's what it's all built on, right? Is just
'Cause
like,
you look at
what
it-
can I take and make a sound with?
Yeah, because you look at it like, oh, this is like a weird hobby for someone, or like maybe they're trying to be, different. But then you see them like being excellent and musical with it, and then you feel like a jerk because like you had a pretension. We've all been there.
Sure,
but we have a
sure,
particular
sure.
pretension where ego. We have two egos, good and bad, and the bad one's kind of winning right now. Then it gets beat up a little bit, and then the good one goes, haha.
Loren, take us back to where it began for you, bud.
Well, I come from a musical family. Both my parents are really into music. My mom plays piano. We always had a piano in the house. My dad plays guitar, and he would always entertain at birthday parties, and we'd when the whole family would get together, we would all sing like a lot of like Gordon Lightfoot, and we would do a version of like Hotel California, and just all the songs that were in his repertoire, and we'd sing them all at every birthday party, and everybody had a grand old time. My whole family sings and does stuff like that. So that was always around. I ended up in school band, Freeland High School. Had a great band director there who really maybe saw something in me and kind of nurtured that talent. I was there as a percussionist, so playing drums mostly, getting into marimba, other auxiliary stuff, congas and whatnot. But then I guess I got a little bored with that for some reason, which is really silly, but like around 15, 16 years old, I decided I really wanted to write songs, okay, and playing drums, there's not really an outlet for that. So I started trying to learn guitar, and the thing that really stuck with me was piano. So I bugged my parents to get some piano lessons, ended up taking a year and a half of jazz piano and music theory with Jeff Hall.
Wow.
The legendary Jeff Hall, who taught at SVSU at the time, and he just gave me this incredible baseline education of which to build on, as far as all the chordal stuff and the scale stuff and the theory and how does it all work together and how can you use that to transpose and move through all the different keys, and like he just set it up for me just how I need it. I've only had at this point, between all my teachers, 2 or 3 years of time, lessons on piano, and everything else is self-taught. But because I had that education with Jeff, I was just able to take it to
So
really,
he saw something to
really
nurture
far
in you,
place.
just like your band teacher
Yeah,
did,
well,
and,
I like
and knew
to
what
think so,
buttons to
yeah.
click. Because
Yeah.
because you were a sponge. I mean, I haven't seen you play an instrument bad. It's like you could grab anything and go. And it's
Yeah,
like,
well, I try not to play guitar around anybody because
You can,
I
though.
always say I play guitar well enough to teach an 8-year-old, and that's about where my skills stop. But another aspect of my work now is teaching at Major Chords For Minors in Saginaw, which is this nonprofit. I've been there for almost 9 years now, and we do 30-minute music lessons at no cost to mainly underprivileged kids, and that's been not only a great thing in my life, being able to pass on my passion and love to the next generation, but also it's helped me out financially because I work there Monday through Wednesday, and then I have 4 days off to gig and rehearse and that kind of stuff, and I'm able to just kind of fulfill a musical life that way.
Where does that take place?
That's it's in downtown Saginaw. We're based out of First Congregational Church over there, just off of Jefferson. We're sort of in their little Sunday school wing.
Oh, okay.
Right there, but it's myself and 2 other instructors, and we have kind of a small team, but we're servicing about 50 students right now.
Are you working with primarily minority kids, would you say, or is it a mix?
It's a pretty big mix. Honestly,
All right,
we drop
good.
from all over the place, which is great. And I teach piano, I teach drums, I teach guitar. To just the younger kids, but we have a guitar instructor who does the heavy lifting.
He's a really nice guy, Mike.
Brad now.
Brad
yeah,
now,
you
okay.
love Brad.
Yeah. I remember when Mike was doing it. I love Mike.
Oh, Mike's the best, man.
Yeah.
But I just came from there today because I had a makeup lesson, and just thinking about like how lucky I am to be able to do that too, and kind of see this next generation that's 18, 17, 16 years old, and they're like going through the stuff that we went through at that age.
Yep.
With all the heartache and and the issues that you deal with that kind of end up leading to some of your best songs, you know, and stuff that you kind of get through, and you get through it to play the show and continue to create. You know,
That's fantastic.
Is there a minimum age, or are you working primarily with teenagers?
Third grade is pretty much the
okay.
minimum age, and we go up to 18, graduating high school.
All right.
So yeah,
Fantastic,
cool thing to be
man.
part of, for sure.
I do know it's something that not only I've picked up on, obviously, and you've got to know this, but when people walk in the room and know that you're playing, it's automatic. Like, they know you're going to see smiling, they're going to be feeling welcomed, they're going to hear something good, and you always come out and meet and greet people, which is a big thing. We were talking about that on another show too, of the bands that kind of go in the back, have their smoke and their drink and their chat and about the next set, and the other bands that go out on the floor and sell their CDs and meet people and do their thing. And you've always been a people person. I've noticed that, and it filters down past the musicians, you know, to the point where the crowd can come and they know if they see Loren, they want to talk to the tall dude that jammed on the keys or something like that, you know. And that's one thing you brought to the table for a lot of years, man. And it's a positive energy thing, man.
I try to spread the positivity, and if somebody wants to talk to me, sure, let's nerd out about music or life or whatever, you know. That absolutely.
That's so
happy
cool.
to talk to
How
anybody.
I think that's important in whatever field you're in.
True that.
It is. I know in teaching, that's a big thing.
Yeah. It's
doubt.
a life skill that you. Some people are blessed with. Yeah,
communication is such a huge part of my job, and as a teacher, as a musician, or like the better I can communicate, the better I'm going to get my job done.
Oh,
right?
exactly.
And I'm
Without
a
a doubt.
massively introverted person, but when it comes to playing a show and music, I am able to overcome that. I think, and that's one of the great things about it. You know, is it's helped me to just be more outgoing and meet people. You know, most or all of my best friends I've met through musical situations.
I think a parallel of your music style, how it shows, is with you, Sean, getting to see you play when you first started, throwing down on the bass like nobody does. Like you mentioned earlier, you actually beat me to the punch on that question. But saying that how you do it for your own reason, for your own thing, for your own feel, on your own terms, and you were so serious, but you're having so much fun.
Oh, always have fun.
And it's like, holy crow, man, another guy that just emphasizes this heart when he gets on stage, and you've always exuded that, and I think it's a huge thing to watch for anybody.
It's contagious too. Your enthusiasm.
Yeah, one of the first lessons I learned, especially playing with other people, is like, everyone always says, you know, music is an escape, and for me it was, but it was a very for me. But I learned that when you play with other people, you kind of enter a social contract, that we're here to do the same thing, and it's to have a good time. It is so hard to get on a stage and still feel negative. For me, like it could be a bad day. I mean, sky is falling, issues, whatever it may be. But like even when it's a bad day, man, getting up there and just making vibrations, awesome. It's just it's a great feeling, and you disappear for a little bit, and you become a better version of yourself. You know. How could you keep that negativity on stage? Like, I've been on stage, you know, even having a fight with a member, but man, when we get going, it's like, whatever, man. We're having a good damn time right now. We'll hash it out later. You know, you always do. You always do. You know, the relationships that matter the most, you work out. And so, like, I like feeling good on stage, and I want people to know that I'm there on purpose, and that I feel good, and I'm there having a good time. I just couldn't imagine being up there just having a bad time in front of people. That's so terrible.
It's a cool thing, I think, and then I want to throw that to the podcast listeners, that if you haven't experienced either of these cats yet, this is the reason they're on the show. There's so much music, so much history, yet they're so young and still putting out brilliant music and still growing. We're so blessed in this state to have guys that are on this path that, you know, it stems from way back when, but now look at this, and you guys are young and you're teaching and audiences and everything, and it's a whole other vibe to talk about it now with guys that are doing it, because back then no one knew what it was or how it was going to end up. Now we're looking back at you're a classic, you're a legend, but now we've got guys. No, I'm just saying, you know, that's how a guy like the older cats, like Furlo. Let's say the Furlo they know who he is.
Yep.
But you guys are setting that path, and you've established it enough that this next generation coming up behind us are seeing you guys as the next thing. And it's just a wonderful world. So please check these guys out. And what's the next project for you, Loren, coming out?
Well, we've got. I guess I'm going to be taking part in a couple shows with Amy Petty. If you guys know Amy, she's doing a big show at the State Theater this fall, and just continuing to play with a number of different groups. Ragbirds, my own project.
Ragbirds just had a release, correct?
We're really kicking into high gear this year, and Aaron's set an awesome campaign where we are every full moon going to release a new song. Okay, either a Ragbird song.
That's a
or
Peter
an
Gabriel
Aaron
thing.
Zindel
He's
solo.
doing that
Yeah,
this
he's
year.
doing that as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I like it.
Wow.
I really like it.
Whatever, Gabriel.
Yeah.
But so just look out for Aaron Zindel and the Ragbirds, or Loren Kranz, because I'm hoping to have something, if not this year, then early 24.
And you've already got your tickets punched for the next year, looking at it, how it's going to end up.
We end up booking out pretty far, right?
Lauren, I have to ask you, what's the significance of releasing it on the full moon?
That you'd have to talk to Aaron about.
Okay,
that.
he's got it all sussed out. People are feeling wild, and
It must be. Yeah.
All right. The werewolves are out.
Did she see the Gabriel thing? How did that start? Because I didn't know that. I've been watching Peter Gabriel do it on YouTube.
I don't know if it was
Since January.
something that, because she is a Peter Gabriel fan, but
I also am a huge Peter Gabriel.
Oh man, me too, for sure. I saw that he was doing that. I think this is just something we've had stuff in the can since 2019, right? And so she's just like, let's get.
Did you
this
write
out,
for that record too? Did you get to write?
No, Aaron and TJ a little bit will do most of the writing. I'm just kind of creating some parts and trying to serve her vision primarily, which, knowing her for 13 years and working with her for that long, like, we've got a pretty good working relationship at that point, which I cherish very much.
And Sean, you're at CDF's in the studio.
Yeah. I don't know when that's going to be done. We keep writing more songs. Shucks.
Well, you were also just moonlighting with, I can't think of the name.
I was moonlighting with Lori and the Darlings.
Loren the Darlings.
Nice.
Yeah.
My work and life schedule took like a really cool path in my personal life, as far as like what I do for a living and certain responsibilities that were given to me financially and long term. I'm 38 now. I've never had a job like I have at this time, and it's an actual career. I mean, it's afforded me the things you would always want: your health care, your 401k, but also it's in carpentry, and it's a really cool feeling. I build things. I'm part of building. I work with builders.
Creating.
I work all over the state. I get things to, it's a really cool change in my life. So I've prioritized, what is the economy of my life, and the two are, my emotions and my time. And unfortunately with Lori, they're awesome people, like super, super cool people. I just couldn't be in one city and drive 4 hours to play a show in another city, then drive 2 hours to get home.
And then record on the weekends with CDF.
And then like record and then
Or
find,
whatever.
and then do stuff with Mickey and John and now Steve, and also have that time with my partner. That's really important to me, especially as I get older, is the relationships that I continue to keep healthy with, like my family and the people I love. And that's kind of gotten in front of music a little bit for me. I've been writing now more than I've ever written. And again, I'm a slow writer, so I feel you so much, Loren. Do you do the same thing where you just listen to the chord pattern like a million times and then you're like, I like it, but what if I changed it just this once? And you go, no, can't do it. I get stuck in that process.
Yeah.
But we're going to wrap up the CDF album, hopefully soon, as far as how many songs it's going to be. And then from there, I do next year have a project that I am sworn to secrecy.
Oh.
Ooh.
But I get to get everybody interested.
It's outside of the band you're in?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's different, and it's a very short thing. It's not like I'm going back on tour. Or, when I told Lori that, I don't have time, I really did. It's none of those things.
So Robert Smith called.
Yeah, he called. Simon Gallup quit again.
Yeah.
He's only quit twice, once in '83 and funny enough like a year ago, and then they went on tour with him.
Scott, shut up. Don't tell everybody.
Yeah, I'm joining the Cure. No.
All right.
But I've been in those forums. I've talked to Jason Cooper quite a bit. He knows my name. But it's going to be a very short thing, but a really exciting thing, and we have to do a lot of stuff at once to make it work. But holy crap, I'm excited. It's not like the local band, big things coming ahead. Just you wait. It's not a Facebook post, anyone, but it will be done. We'll see it to completion, and it's going to be a really cool thing for me in my life, as far as like something I've always wanted to do, and now I get to do. So
Awesome.
super cool.
Whoa.
Other than that, I'm just going to keep writing songs. You know, I've sent you songs in email before. I've sent like Yancey and Shrems and I've talked to you, Loren, and I'm always going to do that. I'm always going to just write songs, and if they sit in the can forever, who cares, man? I got to write them, and it felt good getting that little demon out of me.
Yeah. That's your carpentry of your art, of your music sound.
No
Yeah. Yeah. So, on to the next one. So.
Well, whatever you guys do have planned and for many years to come, we thank you both for being on the show, taking your hard-earned time out for today. You guys are super busy in a lot of different angles, areas. We appreciate you guys. We thank you for coming.
Appreciate you having us.
It's great,
Thanks,
guys.
y'all.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Oh, that was awesome.
The MMHP is hosted on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and our own Libsyn podcast site. You can also search MMHP 989 on Facebook for up-to-the-minute information, as well as both Dr. J and Sir Fred's album picks of the week, posted every weekend. Don't forget to look for Mr. Mike's local music live series, posted frequently on MMHP's Facebook hub, as well as Scott's Mid-Mitten 15 from Harvest Canteen, featuring one-on-one interviews with Michigan music artists. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at michiganrockandrolllegends.com, Sir Fred at fredrife.com, Mr. Mike at YouTube at Mr. BT1. That's MRBTEE and the number 1. Brought to you by Michigan Rock and Roll Legends, located both inside the Bay County Historical Museum on Washington Avenue, as well as Scotty's Sandbar on Evergreen Drive at the Bay City Middle Grounds.
On behalf of our hosts, Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike, and myself, this podcast wouldn't have been here without the voice of the MMHP, Mr. Eddie Switek, the generosity of the Bay County Historical Museum, which hosts the Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame, as well as this podcast, Mr. Alan Garcia, all of our guests, and especially to the listeners. We want to thank you.
I came
was
only
cool,
because I
man.
knew he was here.
I came because I knew he was going to be here.
Because, like, honestly, like, when you first said, like, yeah, I was going to do it in an interview thing, I was like, I hate talking. And by the you're like, but Lawrence can be there, I was like, I'll do it.
And I said that to
dude.
him because he's like, me just by myself? I'm like, no, Sean's going to be there.
What
Fuck
would
if
I
I
say
know
on
you
a
either.
podcast?
I was hoping.
Yeah.
You guys did, though. It worked out. It took a year, but it worked out.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.